G'day guys, what's going on? Supro here. Welcome to the channel. Today I'll be going over some discussion behind the defender line and players that we might want to consider. I've also added a few other guys into the side like Docherty and Laird, who might actually get DPP status later on into the year. So filled up the side with the top 10 defenders at the moment. Just having a little bit of a discussion, what I'm thinking. So we've got Flanders there in the midfield. He did have a back complaint at training, so it's probably a no-go for me now, especially with the round 2 bye, I believe he has, round 2. So wouldn't be going near him. He's too expensive, and you've got the other defenders coming in like Daniel Rioli and Will Power's always been there, but he might get more defence like kick-ins, and then there's another guy, John Noble, I believe it is. So there's a bit more depth down back in the Gold Coast defence. So probably not the year to start Flanders with 20% ownership. But yeah, he is Mr. Consistent. Probably an upgrade target later in the season. Then we've got Shiel. So Shiesel's probably going to be playing a bit more midfield this year. So he might actually drop off a little bit in terms of his average, because he probably won't be getting the halfback minutes as much. Maybe McGovern, I'm not too sure about that dynamic yet. Oh, it's probably Caleb Daniele, but he's got a pretty high ceiling, so it'd be pretty ballsy not to start him. He's a bit more expensive. I think he's a must-own, but he does have that high ceiling. If you do want to take a value option, it's not a bad shout though. He loves playing against the Cats though. He's got the 160 there and the 159. So when do they even play the Cats? He played his high score is 160, playing around 20. I think that's his favourite side to play against. So probably won't be considering him. I mean, I will be considering him, but he's someone that you might actually consider fading if you want to be ballsy and try and, be a bit different compared to the competition. But yeah, then we'll move on to Luke Ryan. He's got 8% ownership. Don't mind him as a pick. He's probably going to be up around the top 6 again this year. He's going to be sharing the kick-ins with Jordan Clark though, so something to keep in mind there. And with Luke Ryan, he likes to chip it around back, like the back line a fair bit. So not too sure if he's going to keep doing that with Freo trying to make a top 8 run this year. Maybe even, push deep into the finals. He might have to cut down a bit, so he might drop off a bit there and go down in price. So he's probably someone that we can look at picking up later in the season. And then with the DFS, I have it on my Word document here. So for Des kickers, Freo are number 3, so it's not too bad. It's a pretty favourable fixture for them. And North Melbourne's up there as well, so you probably do want to grab Shiel as well. And then we got Brisbane at number 1, so Brisbane, GWS, and for general defenders, GWS number 1, then Brisbane second, but I don't think Whitfield is general defence. He's more of the attacking type, rebounding from half-back. So I think Whitfield is actually pretty favourable this year. If you do want to grab him, I think it makes sense. 10% ownership, average of 111 there. So someone definitely I would consider. He does have an early bye, round 2, so it's a bit interesting. What are you going to do for round 2? Are you going to have a flex position player there? It's a bit of a stitch up that he does have that bye then. Makes it harder for me to want to grab him. He is at 600k pretty much, so pretty expensive, but he's going to be a keeper most likely. Zorko, he's a bit older. Got Jeremy McGovern up here. Jeremy McGovern's 33, so he's also on the older side of things. But these guys are the type of players that will score well. Who was I looking for again? Bloody Zorko. Where are you, mate? Dane Zorko. Yeah, so he's 35, turning 36, which is actually crazy to think that he's going to be 36. But, he seems to have aged well for footy standards. A bit risky. He's had a few massive 160 scores. And then, some pretty nice scores there. He's a bit of a drop-off. But with Deos Coleman coming back, he's a cheaper option for sure. But, I'm not sure about his availability, if he's actually going to be right for round one or not yet. So I'd say Zorko's a wait and see for me. He's a massive pod, 2% ownership, but I probably wouldn't be considering starting him. And then when he's got the buy in round 3 as well, so it's another interesting one where it's like you probably don't want to pick him at the start. And then McGovern, I'm a pretty big fan of McGovern for some reason. I just think about, when you think about defenders and you think about a hard unit, McGovern is probably the hardest out of the lot. You'd be scared if he was running at you. But yeah, in terms of SuperCoach, I think, he could probably take it to another level. I think he could get up to like the 115, even 120. That's a bit of a biased opinion there. But I think now that with no Tom Barras, he's just going to tear him a new one. Like, he's already been getting all the kick-ins. Where is it? West Coast. Yeah, he's been dominating there. He does have the injury concern attached to him as well, because he's a bit older. But Duggan's another guy if you want a bit of a pod, you could probably look at him. But McGovern, seems to take most of the kick-ins when he's playing, and he had a pretty good year last year. He made All-Australian, so I think he can back it up. And most of the West Coast supporters are saying that he's pretty good this year. Like, he looks the fittest he's been. So something to consider. He's a bit expensive though. You probably want to take a value option, unless if you're going to go risk and not start Shiel, maybe you want to start McGovern. That probably makes sense, but it's, pretty risky. And then we got Houston here. So Houston, he's got 12% ownership, which is a bit surprising. Have a look at the DFS stats again, because Collingwood down at 14th here for Des kicking against the opponents this year. And then general defence, he's probably not really general defence though. Where are Collingwood, Collingwood, I probably organised this the wrong way. Oh, they're last, so not a favourable fixture, but shouldn't matter too much. I think he can take his game to another level at Collingwood. Should be getting a fair bit of the ball early, you would imagine, to try and, get him involved in the side and have the chemistry early. So I would imagine he would get a fair bit of the ball. He's at that awkward price where I'm not too sure if I would pick him personally. And then when has he got the bye? He's got the bye in round 3 as well, which is... Oh, wait, no, round 14, sorry. He's got 2 buys. Yeah, makes sense. Collingwood play round 0, don't they? Have a look. Season stats. Oh, no, he's just got the bye in round 13. Yeah, must be colourblind, Probably didn't look at it properly, It's weird. Anyway, Nick Martin, so he's another guy that should be probably a bit higher on my radar with the news about Ridley having an injury setback at training. So he could just go back to, defence. There were reports of him actually playing in the midfield in a new role. But yeah, he's probably going to have some disgusting stats again where he has like 40 disposals real early in a game, which is crazy. But for 566k, that's probably not a bad purchase there if you were looking at him. He's only in 3% of teams at the moment, so I'll probably need to do a bit more research on him. Maybe we can have a quick look at him at the moment. Essendon, Nick Martin, where are you, brother? Yeah, oh shit. Yeah, I've become a bit blind recently just from, staring at the computer screen a fair bit. So, why can't I find him, Nicholas Martin. There we go. Yeah, and all those games back in the day, growing up, it doesn't help the eyesight. So, but yeah, he had a breakout year last year, 105 average. He probably is likely to go higher this year. Pretty consistent player and plays most of the games throughout the year, so that's pretty nice as well. Then Jordan Clark, most people have started to jump on him, 5% ownership. Personally, I don't see him being better than Luke Ryan, so in my opinion, I'd rather have Luke Ryan there. I think he's just someone who's got a massive ceiling, but Clark did also prove to have a pretty high ceiling last year. He had some big games like 138 there. I don't know if there's any other high ones. 151 was his probably highest game there, so that's pretty nice against the Saints. Defenders like to score well against the Saints, and Fremantle do have that pretty favourable fixture in terms of the DFS stats there, so probably not a bad shout, more of a value option. He could score well and make you a bit of cash, you would imagine, so not a bad shout there. And then back over to the midfield, we've got Sinclair, so he's likely to just be an absolute weapon this year. When's he got the bye? I'll just look off here because I don't know about that other website I was looking at. Round 15 bye, so it's pretty nice. You don't have to worry about that for too long until later on. So pretty nice little buy there. He's got 31% ownership, which makes sense because Jack McRae's coming to the team. He's probably going to be taking all the CBAs, and Sinclair's probably not going to have to go in there as much, but he still will go in there, you would imagine, scoring pretty well. Probably someone that could jump up into the top 3 sort of bracket for defenders, you would imagine, at his price point. Sort of a 110 average there, so definitely could see some upside in him. But yeah, he's probably like more of a keeper as well. And then we got Rory Laird here, who has popped up on my radar recently with reports of him actually playing at half-back again, which is surprising. But yeah, probably makes sense with like Isaac Rankin and stuff coming more into the midfield lineup, and same with Matt Crouch returning to the side. And then they've got that Sid Draper bloke as well, who'll probably get a bit of game time in the midfield. Cummings come in as well, and also Peatling, of course. So yeah, Laird's probably going to go back to half-back a bit more, which would be nice for his scoring, you would imagine. Had a bit of a down year. He only really had the good game against North Melbourne, which isn't the greatest sign there. So, he's proven to be a good scorer in SuperCoach. It's just probably don't want to start him. You could have him at the flex position if you wanted to. Probably doesn't make too much sense, but he is an awkward price, like 556k there. So pretty expensive. I probably wouldn't start him for the moment unless I got sucked in from the practice games, but hopefully that doesn't happen. Probably someone we can just monitor, probably stay around the mark for the season, scoring pretty well, probably not having as many high ceilings games as you would expect, but who knows, he might. But his ownership at the moment is what? Have a look at that. I've gone past him, mate. 1% ownership. So yeah, more of a pod, but I probably wouldn't go there for the minute. Have a look at Adelaide's run. 5th, or 6th technically, sorry. Most favourable run. So he's got a pretty favourable run for opponents. So could be on the consideration. Could be someone to consider, sorry. But yeah, I don't know. I think until he actually gets confirmed DPP status, I probably wouldn't go near him. And then Max Holmes is someone I'm looking to start this year. Probably a bit of Geelong bias there, but I think he's got a bit of upside. He played really well against Brisbane in the prelim final. He's starting to get some good scores together, like 130s, which are pretty nice. he does have a few drop-off games then and there, which doesn't really add up. But yeah, I think he's had a good pre-season, someone to consider. He does have an early bye though. I think it's the round 3 bye, so that's something as well. Shouldn't be a big deal, but with guys like Callum Mills in your side as well, and Bailey Smith, it is another guy to be cautious about. Because I believe that Sydney do have the bye round 3 as well. Oh, round 5, sorry. Oh, do the Cats have Cats probably have the round 5 bye. Oh, wait, I need to look at this one, I actually just can't tell at this point, because the round 3 bye, yeah. I'm just going to go back to this because I can't tell. I think I've been looking at the wrong thing on the SuperCoach app. But yeah, the buys are definitely something to consider. I just can't really get it to work here at the moment because I haven't got a full squad. But basically, it's not a big deal for this video anyway. Like, just got to be cautious about the North Melbourne Bulldogs players really in the round 12 bye and Carlton players. So Holmes, someone I like the look of. I think he can, go to a higher average, probably like a 110 or even 115 plus if he has an absolute unreal year, which is probably due. There were reports of Dangerfield saying he's like Chris Judd back in the day, but there's a bit of hype behind that, so don't know if it's true or not. And then Docherty, I actually think I might start Docherty at this point over Cripps, because I had Cripps in my video last time, but I think Docherty is going to be a very nice pickup if he does get that DPP status. With the news that Nick Newman isn't going to be playing for the whole season, Docherty is a proven defender, and he was like a top 3 defender a couple of years ago. Didn't play much, he played in the first game, and then obviously was injured. But he can go up to 600k sort of price range when he plays good, and he does have a very nice fixture at the start of the season. Richmond could go nuts against them. Even if he is still playing in the midfield, he'll probably rotate to half-back, take the kick-outs and stuff as well, which will be nice. Unlikely to get tagged by Hawthorn. That's probably Cripps. And then, Bulldogs, not too bad there. I'll have a look at the DFS for Carlton. So they're about middle of the range, just a bit lower. Not too bad. And then general defence, he's not really general defence. But yeah, he should be able to take some good intercept marks there as well for us. Just have a quick look at his past averages. Carlton. Adam Sard's probably another guy that might take that role. Even, Oliver Hollands is another guy. But I feel like with Carlton, they probably will just put Docherty back. He's a proven scorer. Back in the days where he had the 114 average, which is pretty nuts, and then 109 that 2022 season, dropped off in 2023. But I think he's definitely capable of getting back to the 110 days, especially with Carlton, trying to play, push into the finals and getting to the grand final. They're due for that sort of finals run. So I feel like he'll have a pretty nice year, where Ollie Hollands is probably someone isn't too bad for a pick. He's a bit cheaper, which is handy if you want to save some cash. But yeah, he's in 2% of sides. I thought it would be a bit higher than that. But yeah, it's just a matter of waiting and seeing what position these guys are actually playing in the practice matches. But I think Docherty's probably going to be the guy that takes the role, in my opinion. So I'll probably start him. Then Josh Dacos, he's another guy who might be getting some halfback time as well. But, at 482k, I'm probably not going to start him. He's probably just a monitor, wait and see type of guy, especially with Houston coming into the side. It seems unlikely that he'll be getting DPP status, but definitely someone to consider, keeping an eye out for, with Perryman coming into the side as well. So he might get pushed out of the midfield a bit. But who knows? They love the Dacos brothers at Collingwood, so probably unlikely there. But yeah, just more of a wait and see. He's a bit of a weird price for me. Someone like Laird, where you can just wait and see how they score. And then Rivers, I haven't really done too much research on Rivers, but with the kick-in breakdown, Melbourne, it seems to be like Stephen May. He's probably someone else I should look at. Trent Rivers was starting to get a bit of kick-in time and then kind of dropped off throughout the season, but he's someone that has popped up in my side there. So not too sure about him. He can definitely score well, you would imagine. He's got some decent scores, proven like that he's got a higher ceiling, which is nice. Someone for me that I'll probably just have on the watch list, do a bit more research on him. Not too sure about him yet. And then Dylan Shiel, I'm actually probably going to start him at this point, honestly. I think he's a massive pod. And, the Essendon players the Essendon fans are actually saying that he's looking the fittest that he has been in years. I feel like Shiel's one of those guys that can come back to his best and do really well for us in SuperCoach. He's pretty nicely valued there. I'll just get up the stats. Essendon, Dylan Shiel. Like, personally, I feel like I'd rather go with Shiel over like a Peatling type of player, just because he might have a bit more upside, but it's pretty even debate, really. So he had some nice scores, had a couple of stinkers, don't know why that was the case, and then he started to get a bit more better throughout these games and then dropped off for the last game. So the 76 average, bit of an injury interrupted season, sorry. But yeah, I think he could get back to like the days of going 102. I even reckon that he could go up higher and have his best season yet. But it's a big call when he's like turning 32. But if we have a look at DFS real quick, CBAs, I feel like he was getting a fair bit of CBA time. CBA. So Shiel, 53%. He started to get a fair bit there in the back end. Doesn't have any yellows there, so that's a bit of a concern. But I feel like he's a bit ahead of like some of these other guys. But if he's going to be playing halfback, it shouldn't matter too much. Maybe he just rotates between there and the midfield. So 413k, I think he's got some upside with him. Don't know if he'll be a keeper. Pretty unlikely with all the other guys down back. So probably not a keeper. But what else have we got here? Have a look at the DFS rating again. Essendon have pretty nice fixture matchup. He can make us some cash gen. Not sure about the keeper. High ceiling. Doesn't seem to have a high ceiling. He seems to be more of just a consistent player. But who knows, when he gets like back to his best, you would expect some 130 scores, but not too sure about that. And then some other guys we can talk about that I've forgotten to mention. Wangaleen Malira, haven't really looked into him that deeply yet, so probably won't go for him. But you would imagine that Sinclair will be the guy for sure, but he could also, they both could go pretty well and have a good buy as well. So I think I'd just rather go with Sinclair personally. And then James Sicily's another guy, pretty reasonably priced. Bailey Dale as well, put him in. So Sis Dogger, around 4 buy and 15, which is annoying, but fair bit of value in this pick. He does have a high ceiling, so that's also very nice. I think last year, or the year before last year, he was going like 170. So if he can get back to his best, you would imagine that he scores quite well. I'll just quickly look at DFS. So there were some reports that he was actually going to play in the forward line, which surely isn't going to happen. But, with Barras coming into the side, I think the pressure is relieved a fair bit from Sistogger. So, past couple of years here, had a drop off last year, but I think he was like more of the guy that had to, take control for the team. He had to be the one that was relied on. But in 23 and 22, he was going like 110 plus. So someone definitely that need to look more into before round one starts. He could be a starter, could be a keeper as well. There's upside, cash gen as well. So he's another guy that you should probably look at. Just see the ranking again here with DFS. Hawthorn about the middle of the range. So it's actually 10th because I've got 0 there. I think he'll be a bit more freed up with Barras in the side. So someone to definitely monitor. Bailey Dale, have a look at the kick-ins real quick. Where the frick are the kick-ins? What am I doing, Kick-ins here. The Bulldogs, please. There we go. So yeah, he's the main guy. Bramble's been taking a few as well, so he's probably someone that I haven't looked at yet. Might want to consider, but it seems to be like Dale just takes the most kick-ins for the side, so that's a bonus. And we do know that Dale actually does have a really high ceiling. I think last year, he had that game where he went 175 against St Kilda, which is pretty bloody high. Is he a keeper? Not sure about that. He could be a keeper, probably like a D6 maybe. Maybe he has a great year though. We can't predict the future yet. But 3% ownership, someone that I'm kind of looking at as a value pick. He'll score well. He'll make us cash. But the only downside is he does have that bye in round 12. So probably going to avoid him there. Start clearing out the fence line. I'm not too sure who else I haven't covered yet. But Tom Stewart's another guy that's pretty cheap. Chuck him in the side for the moment. Don't know if I would. Haven't really looked into McGrath yet. I think he could be flying under the radar as well. Rioli probably won't bother with. Wilkie's more like the general down back. Amon's interesting. Probably need to look at a bit more. Nick Vlosten, I'll chuck him in the side there. Himmelberg, probably not. Probably rather just go with Whitfield. Stephen Mason, another guy that I need to look at. McKercher as well. I need to look more closely at him. Same with Duggan. He could be a bit of a pod who would be nice, I guess. But it's just a matter about finding that value with the midfield guys as well. Like maybe you don't want to go with someone like Duggan. You'd probably rather pay up and get like a Will Day type of player. That's probably what makes a bit more sense there. Just scrolling down, Jaden Short as well, and Roberts. I don't mind Roberts. I think he's got a bit of value, got the upside there as well. He should be able to get a fair bit more kick-ins. So he's actually not a bad option. He's starting to go off. Like he has that high ceiling, which is pretty crazy. Someone to consider. I need to look at him a bit more closer. And then you've also got the other guys like from Port Adelaide. You need to have a look at those guys because Farrell's injured now, and Houston's not playing. So who's going to be taking the kick-ins? Is it going to be Burton, Evans, Williams? Probably unlikely. It's probably one of these two guys here. So probably need to monitor these guys as well. But yeah, not too sure about that. That's more of like a wait and see with the practice games. And then I don't think there's anyone else down here that I've forgotten about, but I'll just go over these other guys for the minute. So Stewart, I think he's someone that you should probably consider if you want a pod. How many teams is he in though? Stewart, 7% of teams. So most people have picked on to this that he's actually priced under his typical average, which is what Thomas Stewart. So he does get tagged, which is a bit of a concern, but he was going like 110 plus, around that 110 mark for the last 3 years, not including last year. So he's pretty undervalued personally, like in my opinion. I think he's at that nice price point. You could probably even, like, I don't know, with me, I'd rather start like one or the other with Holmes or Stewart. But just because I've got the Geelong bias, I probably will go with Holmes. But I do think that Stewart is actually a better pick than Holmes, in my opinion, because, he's a proven keeper and he has a high ceiling. So someone to definitely consider. He's probably less likely to get tagged as well, with Bailey Smith in the side as well. So Stewart, he's probably even a better pick than Holmes, but I'm just getting Holmes just because I think he'll be the guy for the midfield, in like the Cats midfield, sorry. I think he'll be the guy. But yeah, there's a bit of a bias behind that selection, so I'd probably be suggesting Stewart over him. But I think, I want to see Holmes go well, so I want to have him in my side when he does. That's the reasoning behind that. Then Nick Vlauston I was looking at. I think he's actually a better pick than James Short. If we have a look at DFS, where are Richmond? Richmond 11 or 12, sorry, there. So and then 4 for general. I don't know, maybe he's going to be more of a general now with all the other guys leaving. I think he might actually be that guy, but I don't know if he is or not. So Noah Bolter's going to be missing a few games, so maybe he has to do that for a couple games. But I think that with Vlauston, he offers the intercept marks, and he has got some pretty nice scores from last year. Like, he had that 167, so he can pump out nice scores for us, and the departure of like Rioli means that he'll get more kick-ins. So if I was going for one of them, Short over Vlauston, I probably would go for Vlauston. And then Stephen May is someone I need to look more at. He's, got the monopoly down back there for the Ds. But yeah, he's got the injury concerns, so probably not a serious pick at this point. And then McKercher, another guy, he's got a proven high ceiling. But yeah, probably wouldn't go for him. Just another wait and see guy. And Duggan, just wait and see as well. Was considering Jaden Short there, but probably won't go for Jaden Short now that I've done a bit more research on him. I think that, he just doesn't offer as much as Vlauston. Like, he doesn't have as high of a ceiling as he does. Doesn't really take as many intercept marks. And, he's a bit, that's why he's a bit cheaper, but, who knows, he could prove me wrong. But I think that Vlauston's probably the pick that you would rather go for there. And then who else have we got? Now I'm going to try and rank like who I would have as my top 8 defenders. If everything goes as I expect. So Shiel will probably be amongst it. Not sure if he'll be number 1 because he might have a bit of a drop off from the midfield. Number 1, I will probably put Whitfield there, which is a bit of a ballsy statement, but I think Cozzy's got that nice lineup. GWS number 2 here, GWS number 1, so they've got some favourable matchups for opponents. So he could probably be number 1 for me. But yeah, I still haven't decided if I'm going to pick him or not, just because of his early buy. And then you would imagine like Luke Ryan will probably stay around the mark there, and then Shiel will probably be amongst it. Not sure. I think Sinclair's probably next up, to be honest. Then I could have probably Shiel. And then who else would I say for number 5? The number 5 spots, probably is going to be Flanders if he can get back to his best. And then number 6, bit of a harder one here. I'd say number 6 could be Sicily. With the Hawks going really well, I think that Sicily might be number 6. And then, he's got that ceiling. So I put Sicily there. And then I've got McGovern, number 7. I think he, should maintain, around the top 8 defender spot, especially being the main guy down back. But my concern with him now is that, I'm not really sure who's going to be the guy that goes to like the big key forwards. I think it's going to have to be him. So he's probably going to have to play a bit more of a lockdown role now, which I think he's been doing a little bit more recently, but not too sure about McGovern. So I'll just put him at number 7. I think he does have the high ceiling. He's going to rack up the kick-ins like it's going to be crazy, probably like Nick Martin sort of shit. So probably consider him. And then for number 8, if, Max Holmes has a breakout year, it's probably likely to be him. So it could be Max Holmes. And then, past Max Holmes, I would say I would go with... Who else? Well, I think Docherty could definitely get up there, to be honest. I think Docherty could get right up into the top 8 defenders if, he's playing that role. So I'll put him in the side. Where is he? Docherty. Was there any other defenders that I missed? Bailey Dale and Tom Stewart, another couple of guys there. So, yeah, I probably would have... This is like my top 9 defenders lineup. Flanders, not sure about him. You probably would rather have Docherty if he's going like 110 plus. But, Flanders is Mr. Consistent. But, yeah, looking here at like Dale and Stewart, doesn't feel right not having them in there. But, if I've got to pick a few, this is probably what I'd do. I'd probably even say that Docherty could, replace Flanders in there. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just a wait and see. But these are the guys that I'd be looking at starting that are going to be keepers throughout the season. A bit of a longer video, this one, but let me know in the comments what you guys reckon about the defenders and, who are you thinking of picking. But anyway, if you haven't seen my shorts yet, make sure you have a look at those. I've got some breakdowns of some players that I'm looking at. So I've got some shorts there to watch as well. If you haven't had a look at them already, definitely give them a watch. Just, helps decide who I'm going to pick this year.